so everybody's just.
Good afternoon. My name is David Engel. I am the Economic Growth Director of Pasco County. We do not have a quorum at the moment. One of our members, which will make the quorum, is just stuck in traffic and will be here momentarily. So anybody watching virtually, hang in there. We'll be convening the meeting very shortly. Thank you.
I apologize for the delay.
Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, my name is David Engel. I am the Economic Growth Manager for Pasco County. And I'm going to call the meeting to order. The chair cannot be with us today. And we also have a resignation of Hope Kennedy. She has had some time constraints and can't participate on the Jobs and Economic Opportunity Committee at this time, and she was the vice chair. So the first thing we're going to do is have you select a new vice chair that'll be the stand-in for the chair when he's not available. And you could either take a volunteer or you could make a motion in a second. It's really up to you, but we need a vice chair for the meeting.
Can I pause that for one moment? We just have to vote to amend.
Oh, we have to vote to amend the agenda to allow for the selection of a vice chair.
So moved.
Any nominations or motions for the vice chair?
You know, Mike he does such a good job that, I'd volunteer to be the fill-in in his place. I'll just throw my hat in the ring.
Well, you can't make a motion on yourself, so.
I'm just letting anybody know if they wanted to, I would
Make a motion.
I move, we name Ralph, vice chair.
And there's a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Actually, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry because not everybody is here. We have to do a roll call vote.
Okay.
So. All right, we're going to go ahead and do a roll call vote to make Ralph Acton the vice chair. So Mike Davis is not here. Ralph Acton.
Yes.
Alex Quinn.
Here.
Yay or nay?
Yeah.
Okay. And Linda Mather.
Yes.
Kirk Conover is not here. Jay Michelin.
Yay.
Les Stearns is not here. And then Brenton.
Yay.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Brenton, is it
Congratulations.
Basinger or Basinger?
Basinger.
Basinger. Thank you.
So Ralph, you can lead off with number 1 on the agenda, please.
Okay, did we call roll yet or not? Is that?
We have not
Okay.
called roll, so we can go ahead and call roll.
Yes.
All right, roll call. So Mike Davis is not here. Ralph Acton.
Present.
Alex Quinn.
Present.
Linda Mather.
Present.
Kirk Conover is not here. Jay Michelin.
Present.
Les Stearns is not here. And Brenton Basinger.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe because we're on a WebEx and stuff, we're still not having public in the building. Is that correct, man?
Yes, so we have actually put a public notice out to have any kind of public comment, and nobody has registered for public comment.
Okay, all right, so we can,
It's my understanding that the Board of County Commissioners will be revising the rules governing public meetings for themselves, which will allow some physical public participation and attendance at future date.
okay. All right, the next, I guess we'll have to, I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting. If there's any questions in reference to how they're written. If there isn't any discussion for those, then I guess we'll just call for approval of the minutes.
We would need a motion and then a second to call for the roll.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the
Second.
prior meeting.
Second.
All those in favor of the minutes as they're written?
I have to do the roll call.
Oh, you got to do it by individually? Okay.
Yes, so to approve the minutes as is, Michael Davis is not here. Ralph Acton,
Approved.
Alex Quinn,
Approved.
Linda Mather,
Approve.
Kirk Conover is not here. Jay Michelin,
Approved.
Les Stearns is not here, and Brenton Basinger.
Approved.
Okay. Next up is old business.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I just wanted to point out that we conduct strict Robert rules here because that's Shelby Roberts, and she's related
Shelby
to Mr. Roberts.
rules the board.
Yeah. Shelby's rules. I'd like to also welcome Brenton Bassinger and Alex Quinn. These are the new members that the JEOC recommended to the Board of County Commissioners, and they were unanimously supported at the board level. And we had a very, I think, engaging and interactive orientation for the new members, and they're fairly well up to snuff. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to not focus on things that we have gone through again and again and focus on the new stuff and stuff that is topical. So for the new members, that's us, that's our staff. Even though our responsibilities are vast and we deal with a lot of money as fiduciaries, we don't have a large numeric staff. Each one of us is skilled and professionally trained in a certain vocation and area, and we work well together, and we're lean and mean. Next slide. So I've got good news. The good news was last time I reported, we had a hopeful rebound in sales tax capture here in Pasco County. And our collection rate was actually year over year better in spite of COVID, because people were still shopping and paying sales tax. They were just shopping differently. So the Office of Management and Budget has given us a revision on the capture rate, and we're up a little over $100,000 more than we were in January as far as the projection of how much collection will be taking place. And I just want you to know that. I want you to also see that we've updated our expenditures and our encumbrances to the penny, so we know exactly what our obligations are out of the penny going forward. Just to give you a quick summary, I'm not going to go over the whole chart, but this is the Penny for Pasco spending program, all the things we do, plus other types of reimbursements we do, and that's training expenses, our pads and pours loans, money going to the Pasco Economic Development Council, redevelopment, et cetera. And you'll note that the total is $68 million, which is about $1 million more than we have projected in capture. And the reason that I'm not perspiring in front of you today is, A, I'm confident that projection from our O&B office is conservative. And I'm also confident that the cash flow coming out of a large of our projects will bleed over into the new penny reauthorization period. So we're pretty well covered, and we have a plan B, and we can make some adjustments if we had to. But that's how our numbers look today. Again, these are the project summary. It's just a lot of repeatable stuff, but these are the things that we have cooking, things that are, through the penny for Pasco. And I just wanted the committee to have access to that. Please, you can inspect this slideshow afterwards. And if you have any questions, you can contact me. We've reviewed these projects. There's nothing new there. It's just a repeat. This is the Penny for Pasco projects that were actively funded over the last 10 years. And again, we've been through this also, numerous meetings. These are the active projects where we're still paying out job creation incentives, training expenses, ad valorem, and things like that, which are not part of the penny, but we have obligations. And that is the total to date that we're actually having projects engage in payments through our office. And these are the board approved programs. They're all, most of them are focused on job skills training and the Pasco EDC. So we have some new initiatives. We've identified that small business assistance is part of our economy. And might I add that 87% of the businesses in Pasco have 25 or less than 25 employees, 87%. And 57% of the businesses in Pasco have 5 or less employees, small business. And most of our programs have been really focused on the larger business, bringing the big fish in, the large target industry like a Metler Toledo and Touchpoint Medical, they don't happen every year. They're highly competitive and it takes a while. So we're starting to cast our net and use our programming to focus on the small business community because frankly, they are the Pasco economy. And most of our small business is owned by people that live in Pasco. And that's really the spirit of Pasco, isn't it? We have an entrepreneurial community. People roll up their sleeves, they stake their claim, they take the business risk. And a lot of these small businesses one day may be the big fish. And, that's what we're all about. We give people opportunity to improve their lives, and they are part of our community and our economic base. So we have a new commercial grant program. This grant program provides up to $20,000 to reimburse small business that are beautifying and improving the landscaping on their property. And there's leverage here to this program because undoubtedly 9 times out of 10, businesses go in for project expansion. They're very tightly capitalized. And then they find out that they have to meet the land development code because they're initiating a certain level of improvements on their property. And then they say, oh my gosh, we have landscaping, we don't have the money. So we'll be getting a lot of input from small business, and we are providing them with a landscaping grant. The Board of County Commissioners gave us $500,000 in seed funding coming out of what's called the Tree Mitigation Fund. When developers remove trees, they have an opportunity to, rather if they're not replanting the trees, put money in a fund for landscaping and tree planting, and we've tapped that. And we just started the program about a month and a half ago. It does involve some plan preparation. We need a landscape plan through a landscape professional. But Troy Jackson is our program manager. He's working with various businesses now. And by the next meeting, we'll have at least more than a handful of grants processed through our office.
How do individual businesses find out about that? How are you guys?
Well, we are doing outreach. I'm doing a very aggressive outreach program. I have speaking engagements to chambers and rotaries. Mm-hmm. We've provided messaging through our media office. We had a public announcement come through media. We've been putting it through on our social media channels. So we're aggressively, and we're getting a lot of inquiries. I think the response has been favorable, and we have some good candidates. Our problem is we could eat through the 500,000 very quickly. And when we're going to talk about our next program, which was the same amount of seed money, we're almost completely through it in not just just several months. That's it. Okay, next one, please. So the next one is our commercial redevelopment loan program. We submitted an application through the Community Development Department here in Pasco County, and we obtained a block grant, U.S. Housing and Urban Development block grant for $500,000 to seed a commercial redevelopment loan program. And we went actually live on November 1st after we got our paperwork approved and our SOPs and all the things that we have to do to establish a public program. And we're out of the money already. We're just finishing up, working with the final group of businesses. We have some great projects in the nonprofit area. We have great projects in, we're doing a restaurant in Dade City, which is a fantastic place. I looked them up on, then we checked these businesses and I looked them up on TripAdvisor. The only criticism was there's too many people and they have to wait. People have to wait. I mean, 5 stars across the board. The owner has been in the business for 25 years and we have other activity going. We're helping small business on Route 19 and it's really a flourishing new program. We've submitted for $500,000 additional, and we do have something that we're formulating now to buttress it up, but the program's a very big success, and we're giving 0 interest loans to local business in areas that are eligible, meaning that there's a lot of low and moderate income, unmet need communities, and they're basically on our commercial corridors in the older areas of the county. Next slide.
What's the time frame on the payback on something like that?
Well, it depends on the project, but generally about 3 to 5 years.
And how many loans outstanding are there?
We have about, well, a lot of them are, in process. They're going through the approval process. The paperwork is done. We've signed off on them. So I think we've got about 5 or 6 loans that are either done or in the process of being done.
Okay, so it'll be a few years before the payback starts, and we can put some of that back in circulation.
Yeah, it's a revolving loan program, and it's just not all local retail. We have a target industry that's involved in manufacturing something. I mean, I don't know. We haven't approved the loan, so I don't want to discuss the business yet. But it's very diverse. And we're also helping nonprofits. I mean, they're private corporations, and they're giving something to the community, and we're helping them continue and expand their service. So what's going on in Pasco County? You hear and read housing is booming, and we've got 50,000 plus building permit run rate now in our central permitting office. Things are very strong. And in fact, Cushman & Wakefield issued their recent first quarter report of this calendar year. And I asked Shelby to send it out to everybody. So you see that we're very strong in the industrial area. We are busier now than I can remember as far as real players kicking the tire here in Pasco. And in fact, the Pasco EDC presented to their quarterly presentation to the Board of County Commissioners last week, and they have 44 leads, 42 project prospects, meaning that they're advancing through the sequence of events to get to a viable, successful project. And on our end, I know what I'm working on. And most of these projects are protected by a non-disclosure agreement and confidentiality. What I wanted to do is I wanted to quantify how many square feet of development can I put my hand on and say, I am very confident that this stuff is going to be under construction inside of a year. And this number I'm going to give you is the low number, because I know of other stuff that's happening that I learned about since I calculated it several days ago, and I'm working on some big projects. So it's 1,890,000 square feet. I mean, I'm talking about projects that I know are going to be in for permitting very shortly and should be actually under constructive in the next 12 to 18 months. So this is all employment generating activity. This is all that's juicing up our tax base. And those are just, and some of them are very small components of much larger projects that have been approved or going to be reviewed by the board very soon. So this is hot stuff. We've never had a pipeline like that. And on the flex market, which is the one-story building with the 30-foot ceilings and the ability to go into a mezzanine, as we have in Astoria on Route 54, that project is all leased out. A year ago, they had maybe 20% leased. They're all leased out. And there's a third building in the back. There's 2 buildings up on Route 54 in Astoria. They're erecting the one. It's a tilt up in the back, 132,000 square feet. It's fully leased. They leased it before they broke ground.
Wow.
So they're actually looking for new locations. So the industrial market is pretty good. As the Cushman Wakefield market study concluded, office is not doing well because it's in flux. What is it going to be? And frankly, down in Tampa, there's 1 million square feet of office that went on the market that's available for sublease now. Now, we don't directly compete in that market, but there is a lot of inventory in the Tampa Bay area. So back in April of 2020 was a very uncertain period. So in May of 2020, I spoke to the builders at TPA Edison. They're building the 275,000 square foot buildings located on North Point Parkway in Odessa. One building is up, it's finished. They're very patient. They felt they were confident about their marketing plan. They realized that they may be a year behind because of COVID, but they're going to stay the course. they got a great piece of property. When you're there, you know why they were confident in the project with exposure to Suncoast, the walkability to 2 hotels, restaurants. I mean, it's a fantastic place. So their marketing focus is more of the upscale user, the large law firm or corporate division, you know, like Morgan Stanley would go in there and take 50,000 square feet, that type of thing. And then we have the office project on Route 54 near Ballantree, Colwell Avenue Partners. That's the Rosetta organization. They have 2 60,000 square foot buildings, and they've proceeded with improving the property. They're development ready now. They've put in all the access roads and parking areas, and they're ready to, you know, and they have a building permit. And I spoke to them or communicated with them through email about a month and a half ago, and their optimism is growing. They were uncertain a year ago, and now they see a light at the end of the tunnel, so they're proceeding. So hopefully things will work their way out through the office market, but the other side of the coin is our industrial and distribution warehousing side is unbelievably strong. And part of the reason is our location relative to I-4, which is saturated now, and the wave of development is going north up 75, and the commuting corridor of Suncoast is attracting other types of uses. So you have distribution and warehousing looking at 52 and I-75, and you also have the employment intensive activities looking at Suncoast and those interchanges. The business parks that we are involved with, because when Jay was started here, we had no business parks in Pasco County, and now we're working on 2. If you were driving down I-75 today and looked over, you'd see that the Overpass Business Park is under construction. You'll see heavy equipment, earth-moving equipment, a lot of activity there. So the county has initiated that project. We bid out the project. We're using Department of Economic Opportunity grant money to improve the property. We're regrading it, ripping out all the old sanitary sewer infrastructure, relocating utilities, and we are on schedule with that $2.8 million project. And we'll be done hopefully this summer. And the plans are to execute a sales agreement, a purchase and sales agreement we have with the Rooker Company from Atlanta, Georgia, which they're committed to building a business park in that property. And included in that aggregate number of stuff I can touch and know that it's going to be built is their first building, which is approximately 200,000 square feet. So that's going to happen, and we're really excited about that. The whole development of that property, it'll be in sync with the widening of Old Pasco Road from the property up to Overpass Road and the completion of the interchange at I-75. And we are proud to tell you that the Lacucci industrial area is plodding along, but in a very deliberate fashion. Through a block grant, the county was able to repave Coit Road, which is, you don't know the area because very few people would travel up there, but we re-overlaid one of the major roads in that area. The county has secured $5.6 million from FDOT to do further road improvements. That money's secure, it's under active design. And we are working with the planning department, doing some staff-initiated comp plan amendment and rezoning to take an old piece of property that had derelict, abandoned migrant housing. You know, people that worked in the agriculture industry, but they were seasonal. It was for migratory people. That housing was vacant and blighted. It was ripped down by Withlacoochee Electric Cooperative, who bought the property, and we're rezoning it to light industrial. And we have the first target industry in Lacucci's last 50 years engaged now, called Reinforce Earth. And they created the first number of new industrial jobs in that area in over 50 years. Wow. I mean, there's nothing going on there. People are impoverished, they're isolated, there's unmet need, and we are bringing activity and economic vitality to them and offering them available employment. And that's a go, and that's working out pretty well.
Forgive me, but this is in the northeast corner of the county?
Yes, it is. Let's see. All right, so we have some grants that we're working on. The county submitted through the Office of Economic Growth a $400,000 EPA grant for a Brownsfield program. We heard that the decision from the EPA is imminent in the next week, and we should have an answer on that. So we're very excited because we could use Brownsfield funds to clean up properties as part of the redevelopment process. So we need that money and we have to secure it. We also had we have that $500,000 block grant application that I just mentioned to you about to re-buttress up the funds for our small business loan program. That's been submitted. Don't really have much color on it, but I think we've made it to the committee review level. So we're in the front pack of the race. We're still in the pack. We haven't beat them to the finish line, but it looks good. And unfortunately, I submitted a $1 million federal appropriations request for an earmark to set up a pilot program for the homeless and the disabled, because I think it's a very serious unmet need part of our population. And the ROI on it, the return on investment is quite high. But unfortunately, there wasn't enough money to go around, and I was denied that for recreational type of activity, which I understand because we have a lot of service needs here in the county. So I'll try again. Because our Career Source organization taking some Pasco resident reentry money to get people back in the labor force or upskilling, they were able to get 78 homeless people off the street into jobs through their training program. And I know for a fact, working in another county in Florida, that the disabled population, many of them are available for work, can conduct themselves in technical jobs and other things where their disability isn't impeding or an interference, and they are reliable, good employees. And so we're going to try again on that. But that's our grant efforts. We're always trying to leverage, and all of these grants don't require local matches. So they're pretty good if we could capture some of them.
David, on the former Polish American Club that is going to be used for training facility, how are we involved in that, or are we?
Well, we are. Well, let me just answer that by saying that AmSkills, that does the manufacturing apprentice program here in Pasco County, they purchased that property using HUD block grant money, and they have a mortgage on the property for the balance that they couldn't fund through the block grant program, which is at a very good rate and a very low carry cost. And they are in the process. They have a wonderful plan for that property. It's a 3-stage program. And I have to say that Commissioner Starkey, who's the chairman of that board, is a tenacious, actually effective money raiser. And since they're now a nonprofit, they're able to go out into the community and into the world and ask for money. They have the bead on at least $1.2 million. And they have enough money to do some of the phasing. And within about a year's time, they're going to reopen AmSkills at that location. They'll be training people in the industrial trades. And I wanted to also point out that Career Source, which is we're not discussing that right now, they've entered into an agreement with the Pasco Hernando State College, and they're going to start training people during the summer when things aren't happening there at the college, at least to the level they do during their regular school year, in trades training, because we have a lot of construction in Pasco County, but we have a labor shortage. So we've got some great stuff going on, and AmSkills is very important, because if we're really going to be serious about reshoring here and bringing industry back to America and having them look at Pasco, we have to have a mechatronics and robotics trained workforce, because if you're coming back to reshore, that's because labor isn't your critical issue anymore. So things are becoming more automated, more technologically driven. And these big, major, massive factories in China for many industries are no longer viable. Well, and I'll tell you why. We did a study at the Pasco EDC task force on reshoring. They're studying now, how do we market and promote industry to come back to Pasco County? And we found that a lot of the traditional industries, let's take the garment industry as a case study. Okay, so the garment industry, they left what we call the Schmata district, the garment district in New York and other various areas of the country. They moved overseas because they were very labor intensive, and they had these massive 1 million, 2 million square foot factories over there. So orders were very slow. You ordered big lots of products. They took months to manufacture, and then they came over in the container ships. So it was a slow moving cycle. Now with virtual purchasing and localized markets, the fashion market in the United States is different from region to region of the country. What people are buying in Florida, they're not buying in Nebraska or on the West Coast. So the garment industry is starting to use smaller, localized manufacturing footprints that are just responding to the local market that they sell into. So you have quicker turnaround time, less inventory carry. And if you guess wrong with the old model, if you guess wrong on fashion, then you're stuck because you're spent $1 zillion, you're committed to a cycle, and it's very, very capital intensive. So I don't know if for the men here, I don't know about ladies' clothes, but let's take an example, Men's Warehouse. So that was a great marketing idea. But if you notice, they're really been pushing customized clothes. Come in, buy custom slacks, custom jackets, and a custom suit. We'll make you a deal. And you feel like I'm wearing a Men's Warehouse custom suit. But all it is their name brand. What they do is they take your measurements down and they put it on a tablet. That tablet goes into their cloud, into their server, and then they send it to a factory and they make the suit in the week and mail it back. So it's not like there's the guys with the tailors, like you think of the Hong Kong shirt row or their Seville row. It's all done automatically and by robots. So that's where the garment industry is going. And, you may have, and if you notice some of the upscale retailers in the men's fashion, because I'm a man, so I focus on clothes and menswear, they have smaller shops now where they're actually fitting shops where you come out and pick out swaths of fabric. It's all automated, but it's nothing very unique. This is the way business is going. So look at the risk. There's no risk for the retailer because you paid for a suit. They measured you on the spot and then they manufacture it. And they're able to be scalable and adjust because everything's automated. So when you're the old factories, you basically made 32, 42 regular, 48, whatever it is, in certain lengths, and then had it tailored in. Well, now an order comes in, they just type it on they do it on the computer on their interactive screen, and then it comes right out. So that's the way we're going. I mean, and it's changing the face of industry, but we can exploit that. So we'll have fewer industrial jobs, but they'll be higher paying and more technically focused. Yeah, I really, maybe I'm drifting here, but it's pretty interesting. So new initiatives. We conduct.
I can't help it. This just is amazing stuff. I mean, it's not just Pasco County, but it's industry in the world generally. And the fact that in Pasco County, we're taking advantage of all of it is just awesome.
Well, it's that entrepreneurial spirit that I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation.
Can I give you an example? I'll share this. Meeting that same description of Custom Very Fast is a company in Pasco County that makes specialized, very flexible pharmaceutical packaging equipment. I don't know if you're aware of them, but it's a great example of they're able to create that flexible packaging equipment and customize it. And all of that's done right here, right along 54 in Odessa.
And we're also picking up cross-selling in businesses. Since the supply chain is very fragile in some areas, a lot of, I know that one of our big industries in the 54 corridor is buying packaging from another company and parts from another. So it's very synergistic how our local economy is intertwined in supporting one another. It's fantastic, actually. It's a remarkable evolution that we're at now. So we did a small business survey. It was the first one that I'm aware of that the county's done. I know the Pasco EDC does annual surveys of their membership in the community that they serve, but we never did one, but we did, and it was done through Mark Bellis, who directs our organizational performance area, and it told us a lot of things. It told us that there's areas of opportunity or areas where we have to pick up our game. One of the areas, which was very obvious to me from my experience here in Pasco for 3 years, is we don't really do enough for the redevelopment side of economic growth. And we did an analysis, and that analysis pointed out, using the business survey and using our own records, that the county has spent $126 million in incentives over the last 15 years. And they're in logical locations. They're where business wants to be. So businesses that are looking to come to Pasco, they're looking at certain characteristics. And it's not Route 19. They're looking at green fields, open raw land. They're looking at access to highways. They're looking at certain types of amenities. And they're not situating themselves on Route 19. In fact, you take one of the commissioner districts, Commissioner Mariano, out of that $126 million, the county's only spent $10,000 in the last 13 years in his district because he's up in Hudson. And we haven't had a lot of activity up there. And that's understandable and that's logical. The heavy lifting is redevelopment because you're trying to create market behavior that isn't natural behavior. And the plus side of that is you have to invest very little to get very high return on investment. Your ROIs out of redevelopment projects are going to be phenomenal. I'll explain why in a second. But the point I wanted to make is our old commercial corridors, we have legacy investments in those corridors. We have roads, we have water, we have sewer. We don't have to build new roads. We don't have to widen certain roads. We don't have to bring in utilities. The county has spent in the public sector spent tens of millions of dollars probably in drainage projects. That work is done, and then the development that was traditionally generating taxes and sales tax revenue is shrinking, and the area is becoming blighted, and real estate values are depressing, and the revenue to the county are, coming out of the ad valorem tax and the sales tax is going down. And that is a recipe for more problems. So my thesis is if the county can get ahead of redevelopment and start doing some real important catalyst projects on Route 19 primarily, parts of Route 52, parts of Route 301 south of Zephyr Hills, we can be in a position to avoid a lot of spending in redevelopment later on. Because if you start doing important projects, you generate market confidence. Well, look, they did a project, it's successful. And then area property values start going up. And then you bring attention from the real estate community. And it creates a momentum that the county can step aside and say, hey, we provided the catalyst and seed to this, but we don't have to be here and babysit it financially. And the lesson that I learned by speaking to the Assistant County Administrator down in Pinellas County in charge of redevelopment is they're spending, and their penny for Pinellas, $86 million on redevelopment. And we're going to be as large as Pinellas in a matter of probably another decade or so. So if we inject some money today, it's an investment. It's an investment in not having to spend the $85 or $100 million down the road. And I wanted to let you know that we are formulating a program and we're requesting money through the budgetary process to obtain some seed money for a redevelopment initiative in Pasco County. And it's our hope that when we go through the new reauthorization of the penny that we're working on now, that if it is reauthorized, that we can include redevelopment and small business assistance as part of a eligible penny purpose, because this stuff is intrinsic in our economic health. And our residents and our businesses are saying we have to do better in this area through the commercial business survey and the resident engagement survey. So I just wanted to show you a slideshow. It's real brief. I made a presentation, a preliminary internal presentation. This is not asking for some direction on getting some redevelopment money. And this is a heat map that we prepared of Pasco County. We have the commissioner districts on the map. We've plotted each of the programs out of the $126 million, where they're located. And the red area on the westerly side of the county, the majority of people that live in that area don't believe that they have a high quality of general economic health in their area. These are people that think that we could do better in that area, and they're not satisfied. You're under 50%, you're not satisfied. The other green area, and it doesn't because we spend money in an area, they're just happier. Up in Dade City, we haven't been really spending a lot of money besides that little dot in Lacucci. But those people are more than, over 50% of their residents are satisfied with their overall economic health up there. So what is the lesson? The lesson is just because we spend money or don't spend money doesn't mean people are satisfied. It doesn't drive the needle. And to address that, we believe that redevelopment will take that red area and make it green. And that's very important to me, and I think it is to everybody else, and also consistent with our strategic plan that's the Board of County Commissioners drives us all by. Next slide, please. So the residents' view is divided, as I said. Economic incentive expenditures do not automatically equate to resident satisfaction. And Pasco County, even though we spent a total of almost $140 million, our businesses view our overall economic and business initiatives as below benchmark, below the state and below the national level. And that to me is not a concern, because I think part of it is our messaging and how we communicate with our stakeholders. And that's why I said I'm increasing my outreach, but also listening to their needs and then formulating programs that address these needs, and that's redevelopment. So how are we going to move the dial? How are we going to get things going? So capture legacy assets, I just talked about that, and our tax revenue value of our older commercial corridors. Small businesses are 86% of Pasco businesses. So if we're going to really help the economy, we should help the people that drive that economy, and those are small business. And many small businesses, I think it was 34% of the small businesses in Pasco County are planning on hiring in the next 3 years. And 34% collectively, 35% are either going to improve their property and expand their existing facilities, or they want to find a bigger location in Pasco County. So that identifies a large number of businesses that are going to have needs. And so maybe with a small business initiative, maybe with the ability not to give them money, but to lend them money, would help them out with our zero interest loan program. I mean, so the subsidy is in the actual interest rate and the carry costs, and it's de minimis, and you get the money back. And I think that would be an attractive economic development program. So we have to really start telling the community about our job skills training, because only I think it was about 30% were satisfied with the local labor force on reliability, availability, and skills. And that's why we're moving ahead with trying to develop a small business initiative along our commercial corridors. And we've done some work there. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we did a case study. I think you're gonna enjoy this. And so we looked around, what counties are similar to Pasco County? And we'll never find an identical sister county, but one was similar was Lee County. Lee County is where Fort Myers is. It's a little more upscale maybe than Wesley Chapel versus Estero, but maybe ours is a little more year-round community. There's a little more moneyed retirement. I understand, but anyway, it's kind of like different types of land uses, similar stage of development. It's one of the hottest counties in Florida, probably hotter than ours as far as development. And it also has an old area called North Fort Myers, which is blighted. So in fiscal year 17, their Board of County Commissioners granted $2 million for a redevelopment pilot program. And it went really well. It made meaningful changes in North Fort Myers. And last year they approved a project and it granted a $1.7 million redevelopment incentive. Here's money. You can use it for ripping down a building, and you can use it for cleaning up the property and design of a new project. So the project is called Merchants Crossing.
I know exactly where, I used to live in that area, so I know where this is exactly. I've been in that Sears. It was
I'm glad you said Sears, because that 150,000 square foot Sears is now that rubble there. Next slide, please. And this is the property today, and I know it's hard to see, but if you look up at the top of the screen, you see some dark rooftops. Mm-hmm. That's the area that they're going to redevelop. Right. The light areas they're going to maintain. There's some anchors there. I think there's a Hobby Lobby type of place and some other stuff. They've refaced it. They're going to keep those retailers. And what they're going to do is they're building 272 residential apartments in 4 buildings and 6,000 square feet of new retail in that northerly portion where the dark building envelopes are. And the real interesting thing is on the next slide, because they are actually taking a residential component of high intensity and integrating it into an existing shopping area and creating 6,000 square feet of retail support activities for the residents. And there's how the new face and facade is going to look. There's the site plan. There's the elevation for the actual residential component. And you can think of some areas and property on Route 19 where this would fit in, where there may be a vacant Sears or a vacant Bed Bath & Beyond. The projects wouldn't be identical and at the same intensity, but similar. We have the potential, and it's happening here in Florida. Next slide, please. And that's a larger rendering of the project. It looks like an apartment project. But the point is here, the price point of this project will allow lower rents than you can get on Route 54 and Route 56. It's very rough now. The housing market's very tight. And we need to have market housing that's more affordable than what we're putting in the ground today.
A question, if I may. We see this sort of apartment development going on all over Pasco too. Most recently, it was in the news with suspension in the Wesley Chapel area. I keep scratching my head, asking myself, who are the demographics that select this multifamily housing? Perhaps it's my generation, we all aspire to single family.
Well, the housing market is changing. And first of all, just from a market standpoint, a lot of the housing development and growth activity here is not a result of the Pasco market. It's the forces of the Hillsborough housing market and the Pinellas housing market that is pushing us along in the residential development area. Secondly, preferences are changing. So there's the young generation getting started, but seniors now, a lot of them want to rent. They don't want to own. And there's a big now housing market for single family rentals. There's new single family developments going up. There's one coming into Pasco, and there's one down in Hillsborough where the developer just focuses on building small 3-2s for rent. So the markets are changing, and the demand for rental housing is extremely, and I say extremely strong. But the forces that drive the price points, you know, it's really, a lot of these people are working out of the county down in Hillsborough. So what happens is the properties, you know, with all this development pressure and this ability to keep doing apartment projects, it's driving up the cost of land, which ultimately drives up the rent. So here we're taking an area that is not as attractive, I guess, from a real estate standpoint. The prices are lower, and a residential project in this area, a mixed use project, could be transformative, and it will elevate the property values in the area. And that's what we're trying to do here. The next slide is very, very instructive. So Steve, right here, Steve Smith, our business analyst, prepared an analysis. And we discovered that if we took this project in Lee County and parked it over at the Gulfview Mall on top of the Sears building, what would happen on a financial standpoint? Could we be justified giving a $1.7 million grant for a $40 million mixed-use project? And it was very interesting because the break-even on the sales tax and property tax capture from this new theoretical development, we'd break even in less than 5 years on the actual revenue based on the 1.7 million square feet. And the ROI, the recurring ROI on 1.7 million square feet, look at the output there. Now, just on the direct output, and that's not in the indirect and the induced, the direct output is $4.9 million a year going back into the local economy on a one-off $1.7 million investment. And that leverage is phenomenal. And we didn't make up the numbers. We took a real-time project and real numbers, and we just inserted it here in Pasco. And might I add, the numbers were different down in Fort Myers. They broke even in 3.5 years because they have a higher tax rate than ours. So we're blessed with a low tax rate, so the return is slower. And that's the type of project we would like to get support to get seated here and be a catalyst project for our region. And that's the end of my presentation. You know, I try not to be as long-winded, but it's hard for me not to because there's so many great things to talk about, and this is a quarterly meeting. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I think you're correct on this because from the numbers that we're seeing, that we're going to have 175 approximately 1,000 people move to Florida in the next year. And they are looking for this type of properties. They want the amenities.
Well, you're right. And you know what? Part of our housing market reflects outside the state. You're selling, look, the housing, a guy sells his house in Connecticut and he gets $900,000 for it. He comes down here and buys a home here, a nice home, for $500,000, and he thinks it's cheap, but it bids up the market. And also the shortage on lumber, and the shortage of labor drives up the costs, and housing is going up and up and up. And, you know, there's been boom bust cycles in Florida before. Luckily, our economy is much more stable and structurally stronger than some of the older boom bust cycles in other areas of Florida. I mean, we don't cater to the just the seasonal resident. We cater to, you know, year-round people. We have a very dynamic population. That's why it's important to have the jobs here in the industry, so we keep it local and keep it strong. Thank you very much.
Okay. Where are we at on this then?
So right now, we're actually at Miss Hope Allen Kennedy's resignations. We already had that discussion earlier in the meeting, but we do need to have kind of a greater discussion of one actually accepting her resignation and, you know, do the motion and a second and then a vote for that. And then we'll also have to have that discussion of how would you like our office to proceed of filling that space?
Well, I guess first point of business is to go ahead and make a motion to accept the resignation of Hope Allen from the current board. Someone want to make a motion to that?
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation. Doesn't seem much point in not accepting it.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Are you going to call roll on that again then, please?
Michael Davis is unavailable. Ralph Acton?
Yes, accept.
Okay. Alex Quinn, we already know. And Linda Mather?
I accept.
Kurt Conover is not here. Jay Michelin?
Accept.
Les Stearns is not here. And then Bretton Basinger?
Accept.
Starting.
Gosh, I can't even, honestly, I don't even remember the last time she was at one of our meetings, to be honest. So, yeah, it's been quite a while. So,
She has a lot on her plate.
yeah, she's a member of a lot of organizations, that's for certain. Our two newest members, how we advertise that position, I think would be the best direct way of garnering applications. We can just rerun that same thing. We had a lot of very good applicants. It was a very tough choice to accept new people to the board.
Definitely. And we can review, there were a couple additional resumes from the last time. We can review those.
Absolutely.
And then also put out another press release that has that information that we're updating, that who we're specifically looking for. We'd be happy to do that.
I would believe then that between, that we would be able to probably be able to fill that between now and the next meeting then, correct? Don't you feel?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a quarter. We can get in on the agenda very quickly.
Yeah. I guess there is a discussion then to expand the oversight abilities of the JEOC is initiated.
That was brought up by the chairman. He wanted to have a discussion about that, and you guys, the committee agreed that they would pursue that. But I would just recommend that maybe we table that till Mike is here.
Okay.
Because he was kind of pushing that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not a problem. We'll address that at the next meeting then. Committee member topics and discussion. Anybody have anything they want to add to the?
Just a thought. So I live in the Bexley development, and we're now the proud owners of an Amazon warehouse. So far, they've been a good neighbor. It's quite a thing to behold this place going up. I mean, just the size of the thing, the number of trucks in and out is quite a thing, but they haven't been too disruptive. But I have a simple question, which you may know. Basically, across Bexley Village Drive from them, there's a new building that's actually seems to be in operation. Notably, there's no sign that says who they are. Does anyone know who they are?
That's Encompass Health.
Encompass Health. So the whole area is just rife with healthcare industry of one kind or another. I guess Pasco County is known for that and will be more so. Encompass Health. Okay, thank you.
I have two rookie questions. One is in regards to new membership, what is the process for reviewing and accepting, nominating and accepting new members to the board? And is anything needed from us?
Sure. Well, I'll just go over how we went through your process. So we went through a similar process previously where we went ahead and did a press release. And once we gather all of the resumes in, we have a scale that we would go through and rate people based on their level of education and the things that we're looking for, rubric. And we rated the people that way, and then we disseminated that information to the group so they could review the resumes, they could review the rubric, and then we had a discussion about that and how we wanted to move forward. So that would be the same type of process, is that we would collect those resumes in. Mr. Engel would review the resumes just to make sure that they're meeting all of the needs, because they would have to obviously be a Pasco County resident. And then that way we would weed out anybody that wouldn't qualify, and then we would take the information and send it along to you, and then you all would vote on that as well.
They have a target industrial background or work experience areas that they try to put numbers into. That way you have a broad view of different industries and work experiences as members of the board as well.
Makes sense.
To go along with that, I mean, obviously we wouldn't want everybody in real estate because that's going to be the only focus. So we just want to make sure that there's a good representation.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other question, and forgive, this is a really rookie question, but I'll ask it anyway. So we're going to talk at the next meeting about potentially expanding the oversight abilities of this council. Is there a summary on what the current oversight
Well,
expectations are?
there is a summary. In 2015, the Board of County Commissioners created the Jobs and Economic Opportunity Committee. So we have, you have your own website, which we're going to send it out to you. We'll send you the resolution that creates this committee. Your committee's charge is very specific. There's oversight of penny for Pascal related funded projects. And you also are required to make an annual report to the Board of County Commissioners as to any recommendations you have on marketing the penny or the way we're conducting our business. And we meet quarterly, so you can look under the hood and determine whether we're going in the right direction and then give us input.
Thank you.
There should be a copy of the resolution in your emails, but I'll make sure that you get a copy of it.
Thanks.
So,
Anybody else have anything to add?
Yeah, just one other thing. Any chance we can get copies of the PowerPoint in email? Thank you.
Absolutely. After this, I'll go ahead and send everything out.
Yeah, it was really well done. That was excellent. I just find it, that's amazing. I'm telling you, I've been in that Merchants Crossing shopping center many times. When I used to live in Cape Coral, and it's like Cape Coral, North Fort Myers, or like, Port Richey type thing. There, it's hilarious that I've been in that exact location many times. So, yeah. They have a lot more seasonal population though. A lot of snowbirds down there, a tremendous number. Kind of like a mini version of the Villages type thing. So, I guess we should go ahead and confirm a date for the next meeting.
So what I did is I took our dates that we had discussed with our last meeting and just went 3 months out. So we actually have this room scheduled for Thursday, July 29th at the same time, 2:00.
I'll leave 15 minutes earlier to come to that one.
I would appreciate that.
There's less traffic in the summer.
Yeah, I looked this morning, it said 40 minutes, and then I was about to get on the road and it said an hour and 10 minutes. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Where are you coming from?
Zephyr Hills.
Oh,
Welcome to
wow,
Pasco
yeah, that's
County.
good.
Yeah, a lot of stoplights along.
Yeah, there are.
10 years ago, that would have been a 35-minute trip.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thursday.
So good job.
Well, we've met in several different locations. I like this one the best personally because it's the closest to my house. I'm being selfish on that part. But
I like the
works for
commute
me.
also.
But several other people have Mike lives in like Wesley Chapel, and it's a hike for a lot of the folks. But it really works well for me. I can be home in about 10 minutes. So. If there's no other questions or anything, we'll just have someone make a call to adjourn the meeting.
Move to adjourn.
I second.
Seconded. All right.
I am so sorry. I just missed that part. We said to adjourn. And who made the motion?
I did.
Jay.
Jay.
Thank you. And who seconded? Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
She likes my customs.
Now, are you going to call that again? Or do we just do it by voice?